Tim, Dr. H, I missed you guys. It has been so long. These are my live shows. I host them every Wednesday, but not really because I've been off for about the last month. I got married. There was a honeymoon in Maui. One of my guests also was on a recent honeymoon, who you're going to hear about in just a little bit. Guys, this is my live show. So I record this every Wednesday live. You don't have to listen to this live. If you're watching this as a recording, awesome. You won't be in the chat with all of us having as much fun, but you'll still hopefully enjoy this. So good to hear from you guys. I think a lot of you gave me great recommendations to go to Maui. So I actually have to owe you. I would literally be putting out videos going, should I go to Rotohana? What else am I missing? PETA's like, I've been looking forward to this all day. PETA, you said that perfectly. I'll send you a Venmo after this. That was just perfect. You said it, no typos. No, guys, I'm not Venmoing PETA. Okay. It's fun when I get to do these because this is my authentic show. I mean, all my content's authentic, but this is where you really get to see us go long form. I will make bigger tangents than you see in my normal videos. I'll be going off talking about your questions. I've got advisors in here. Toots, it is good to see you. We've got Root members here. We have future advisors that want to work at Root here. So it's cool. We have a wide range of people. Now, if you're expecting a little short clip of, okay, should I do the conversion? But what about the healthcare changes? And oh my gosh, I just saw this new estate planning exemption. That's not what this show is, and you're not going to like me. And you should definitely tune out if you're expecting a short answer. My other content, which I'm posting almost every day of the week, is exactly that. This is long form. This is super fun, I hope. And it's educational. I want this to be a show where you can get to know the advisors at Root in more detail, not just their videos that you see online, where you guys get to actually ask questions. And you can see Dr. H is asking, did you drive the road? Yes, I drove the road, but we only got to the banana bread spot, Road to Hana. We didn't go past that. I know a lot of you guys are going to be mad in the comments. And you're saying, well, it's a once in a lifetime thing. Look, I will go back. I get car sick really easily. I even got the things where you put on your wrist and they're like, it's going to help with seasickness. And I'm like, look, you don't understand. It's bad. It's like when you go to the ER and they go, so what's your level of pain? And you're like, well, it might be like a 3 to you, but it's like a 9 to me. Okay. So like yesterday is when I need to be seen. So we're going to go back, Dr. H. We're going to do the full Road to Hana, but we just did the short version. So for those of you who have chosen to be here on Wednesday at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 Eastern, 5 Central. You see that CFP math right there? I thank you because you could be doing so many other things. There's so many amazing shows on Netflix and Apple Plus. You could be reading, or maybe I'm in the way of your nap time and you're here with me. So thank you. Please participate. It's way more fun for me if I get to look at the chat and see you guys answer questions. So my first question is, have you guys, and I imagine you guys have, but have you seen the State of the Union? The State of the Union that we just put out? If not, you can see it. I'm going to show you where you can see it. I'm going to put a link to it first. But have you seen our State of the Union? Just go in the chat, say Y for yes, you've seen it, and for no, you've not. Let's see, Woods. I love Woods' comments. In one hand, I have my peanut M&Ms. In the other hand, I have my cauliflower. I'm ready for the show. Woods, when are they going to start selling cauliflower at AMC? That's what we want to know. Now, a fun tangent that I cannot help myself. This is a stupid idea. So let me be clear before I explain as if this is something that's smart. Okay. But I'm going to share it while I show you guys how to get to the State of the Union. So under our website, Root Financial, if you're on resources, some of you are saying yes, no. I'm seeing a good amount of no's. Under resources, if you're hovering over newsroom here, you can see our State of the Union. Some of you are like, look, I don't need another hour and a half of you and James. But for those of you who want it, it's here. For those who just want to read it, you can see where we are now versus a year ago, how we dropped our minimum to $1 million, why we waited so long to do that, our team structure, our MVP, mission, vision, purpose, all this fun stuff. So make sure to check that out. I put it in the link. But this is just a fun idea. And then we're going to actually get into what today's all about, which is learning about what the first 1,000 days of retirement looks like. And you're going to hear that from one of my advisors, Brennan, who's awesome, that you're going to meet in just a second. And we're going to get to find out how do you actually create income in retirement? Because most of you who are on the show, unless you're like Tim, because Tim here is going, yep, I saw State of the Union and I'm already retired. Tim, you can tell everyone here because I remember when you were on my live show, when you were not worried, but you were wondering, hey, am I in a good spot to retire? And now you've been retired. And that was, I don't even know, maybe 6, 7 months ago. So let us all know. And then I'll highlight your comment if you're like, yep, that was me. So one idea I had, this was in college. I was like, guys, I hit it big. I need to make these YouTube videos, join Root Financial. I have a genius idea. So here's my idea. My idea was, it's literally the stupidest idea, but I was like, when you go to the movies and you get popcorn and it's not hot by the time you get to your seat, what if you could buy for an extra $3? I forget what I called it. I think I called it the fire bucket. Literally, you guys can all make fun of me as much as you want. You should. The fire bucket. Your hands, sometimes movie theaters are cold. So I'm like 2-for-1. You get the fire bucket. It's an extra $3 at checkout. It's a little warm. Okay. So your hands are nice and warm when you're in the movie, which can be cold, and your popcorn stays slightly warm. Okay. Is there a bigger fire hazard you can think of than that idea? I don't think so. Safe to say the idea it's not me. It was not fire bucket and NVIDIA. Okay. We were not competing, if that's what you're all wondering. So that was a funny story. That's the fun thing about these live shows. I can hope they resonate. I actually can't hear any of you. So in my head, I will imagine you all laughing. I can pretend I'm the funniest person ever when really I very well cannot be, but it's fun to think that. So Tim here, what did you do on your honeymoon that would be considered extravagant? Did you fly first class? No, but I've got a good story there. Tim, yep, retired almost 7 months now. No worries here. Leaving for Jamaica on Monday. Guys, can we give Tim a round of applause? 7 months retired now. Tim, we might actually be calling on you because there's about 100 people here who are going to want to actually know what retirement is like. You're about to hear it from one of my advisors who's going to explain what it's like for the clients that he works with, but he's obviously not retired. So guys, put in the comments here things like AT Lurker just said, looking for advice when one spouse is ready to retire early, and all the simulations say they can. We've got 3 million. We've got no debt. AT Lurker is really flexing on us. Maybe 55, both 55, modest spenders, just modest 45,000 a month. No, I'm just kidding. But the other spouse is dead set against it. Well, I would say you're a human, first of all, and we're going to save this because this is a good question we're going to come back to. So Dr. H, will you invest us in Fire Bucket now, please? LOL. That is how you can lose your money real quick, Dr. H. Okay, so PETA, yay, Tim. Retire early. Love it. Look at this. How cool is this? Our advisor, Chelsea, who works at Root, she was on our live shows before she joined Root as an advisor. She was on a live show, and now she's congratulating Tim. I mean, guys, this community is so cool. So seriously, thank you all for being here. We're going to hop in, but let's go ahead and address Tim's first question here. What did you do on your honeymoon that would be considered extravagant? Okay. Did we fly? We did not fly first class. No good reason for it other than as of today, and I know we all look at this differently. Tim, I want to know, are you flying first class to Jamaica? Because if you are, good for you. And I'll tell my clients, if you're in a good spot and you're not flying first class, you better have a good reason, because I do not want you mad at me when you're 85 going, I have $10 million. Why didn't you tell me to spend more? And we were like, you're in a good spot to do it. First class was not something that we booked far enough in advance. Now, could we have upgraded and paid even more? I'm sure we could have. We had enough going on planning the wedding. The wedding was on Friday, August 15th, and we left on August 17th, Sunday. So we honestly were like, look, we've got our show queued up. I forget what did we watch? No, we weren't watching. I remember. We were watching a little bit, I want to say, of Modern Family, like going back to Modern Family, but we were reading Emily Henry romance books because it's how I'm connecting with my spouse, Alice, now, where I'll read these romantic books and I'll get more of her thoughts, not just on the romantic side, but in terms of, okay, how does she want to connect? What are our love languages? My love language is Roth conversions and cauliflower. So let's just say that doesn't spice up the bedroom, guys. Okay. So with that being said, one cool thing really did happen. So I do want to show this. We were on the flight there. You could see the greatest, this is one of my favorite selfies ever. And the flight attendant is looking at me a little too much. And guys, no one's ever this excited to see me. So I know something's up. So Alice is sleeping. She comes back and she does like a double take. She's like, do you make those videos? I'm like, yes. She goes, oh my gosh, she's telling these other people they got to watch the videos. They're like, I could care less. I'm going to Hawaii. Like, I don't even know what you're saying right now. And so it was really fun because she gave us a care package with these Hawaiian cookies. And Alice is like, I guess you do something important. No, she's not like that. But it was super fun. You could see here's a photo of us in Hawaii. You can see we had got out of the ocean. I had sand in my hair at this point. Anyone else hate sand in their bed? I just have to know. Anyone else hate sand in their bed? Because when we were in Hawaii, there was one time we did not shower, jumped in the bed. Service did not come. We stayed at Napili Kai. Anyone else stayed around the Napili shores, Napili Kai? Insane that we did not see one sea turtle. I know I'm already 10 minutes into the show, and you're like, I've learned nothing about 1,000 days into retirement or tax gain harvesting. That's going to come, I promise. This is more of me just ranting, and hopefully you guys are resonating with this. So a very special day. Sand was in the bed. Unfortunately, we did not see a sea turtle. This is just last funny thing that I wanted to address. So this is my suit. I think it's kind of a nice suit. We didn't want the traditional black and white, so this is my suit here. I had a few people compare my suit during the wedding. Okay, guys, I'm going to let you guess real quick. I know there's a little lag. What does this blue suit remind you of? What movie, very famous comedy, does this blue suit remind you of? I'm going to go through some comments while you guys put it in there. Very famous comedy, okay? And I'm not going to give any more hints. If you don't get it, I'm not going to blame you. But we're going to bring on our guest in just a second. Let's see some comments. Tim, yes, I'm flying first business. I also got an oceanfront suite with a butler. Oh, Tim, we're going to need an interview of this butler. I've never even, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Tim, you deserve that. Rich, Tammy, and I, we're always flying first since joining Root. That's what we like to hear. Did you get shaved ice? Did you get banana bread? Yes, banana bread. No shave ice. Toots retired half a year ago, loving it. 1.5 years ago. Sorry. What do you love most about it, Toots? Let me know. Okay, fun stuff, buddy. Here we go. I want to see actual calculations, withdrawal percentages, how to specifically and exactly manage our retirement income. Well, I don't know your situation, but we do have a guest coming on in a little bit. I'm going to screenshot that. I will not forget to address that. Okay, thank you for that question. Thanks all. Ari, why do you call a brokerage account superhero? Why isn't the Roth the superhero? Guys, can you help me out and respond to Craig May here for me? Rich, PETA, Tim, if you guys don't mind helping, that would be great there. Oh my gosh, you guys did it. You guys did it. Dumb and Dumber, something about Mary. It's Dumb and Dumber. Okay, look at this. Okay, you see this blue right here? Look, guys, I'm not seeing it, okay? I think my blue is a different shade. I'm not seeing it, but there was some talk that this blue was a little close, okay? Now, I do like Dumb and Dumber. I think it was a hilarious movie, but I'm glad my wife did not hear that comment. Okay. Toot, in terms of his retirement, I like the fact that I can finally get to hobbies rather than putting them in the background for someday. Okay, what are some of those hobbies? This is for everyone, ready? And not having an answer to a boss. What are some of the hobbies that you are doing? And you can answer that if you want to get to it. So if you're like, I'm not retired yet, but there's hobbies I want to be eventually doing, also, we want to hear that. So thank you for the 100+ of you who are here live with me right now. Kind reminder, nothing today is going to be actual financial advice. This is for fun, educational, informational purposes only. If you want to work with Root directly or any advisor that I bring on today, you can go to their profile directly. For example, I'm about to bring on Brennan Ramos. You're going to see in just a second. His face is going to come on and you're going to go, wow, gosh, this guy looks cool. And you can see here, Brennan has a profile. If you click on his profile, there's a button, work with me. So if you resonate with his style and you go, wow, just something about him, great, you can start working with Brennan. Same thing, you guys are going to get to hear from JJ Lester today as well. So if you go, wow, I just love the way he talks, you guys can see he also has a section here, related content. So if you want to go watch more content about, should I buy an investment property? Or how should I diversify from my concentrated stock position? You can go check out all that fun stuff and more. So let's read some hobbies, Brennan, before I bring you on here. Photography, 3D printing, okay, woodworking, hiking, all good hobbies. Beach combing. Should I know what that is? Beach combing? Brennan, I think this is a good time to bring you on because you might be able to prove your amazing intelligence or be equally confused. Do you know what beachcombing is?
I am equally as confused, Ari. I have no idea, but I would love to learn what it is.
Yeah, me too. Lyle, can you or have someone else come in here and explain? Let's actually, Lyle, have you not explain it because you know what beachcombing is. Let's get some guesses, guys. Beachcombing. Okay, go put that in the chat here. We've got people, Brennan, saying they want to learn to sail. Do you sail, Brennan?
I've sailed once through the Chesapeake Bay. My grandfather was a sailor, and I wish he had taught me at a young age because I'm jealous and envious of all the retirees out there who get to do that on a daily basis.
Count it. That's one more than me. I like that. Superhero account, guys, so many good reasons. Superhero, we're going to get into that maybe at the end. That's a little special because the Roth is amazing. I love Roth, but superhero just has something a little different. We're getting closer here. JJ has better tax advantages. Ooh, but Roth is tax-free forever. So what's better than that? We'll talk about it. Okay, good stuff coming in here. People say here we've got beachcombing like in Spaceballs. Oh, I feel like, I mean, I know that's a famous movie, but Brendan, I don't know about you, but sometimes people say, have you seen? And I'll stop them. I'll go, before you say anything, the answer is probably no. But have you seen Spaceballs?
Maybe way back in the day. It's one of those movies like back from the 90s, I think, that it really all got blurred together. I might have been 5 or 6 years old at the time.
Yeah, we've got some responses coming in. Okay. Beachcombing is walking the beach and looking for shells. Okay, I feel like we could have guessed that. Roaming the beach for treasures after a storm, walking, looking for things washed up. We did beachcombing, but not intentional. We didn't set out to do that, but we did go and look for sea turtles. Don't know if that's in the same category. But off of the beachcombing for a moment, Brennan, it is so fun for you to come on the show and for people to actually get to hear from someone who's not just a CFP, but a root lead advisor taking on new clients. And when I asked you to come on the show, I said, hey, guys, what do you want to talk about? You can talk about anything. And you said, I really want to talk about the first 1,000 days of retirement. What really goes on in those first 1,000 days, which I thought was interesting because most people think about it as the first month or the first 6 months. And there's people that you can see in the chat here that are saying, Brennan, I'm retired a year and a half, 6 months, 7 months. I just got a butler. I want to walk through whatever framework you think would resonate with people. And if you want to ask questions, we'll go ahead and ask questions to the group. But let's talk about the first 1,000 days of retirement. Why was that the topic that you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, thanks, Ari. And thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. It's a really interesting topic. I think as in my career as an advisor, it's one of the most fulfilling things to marshal and guide somebody from their working years to their retirement years. And a big part of that is overcoming some of the emotional hurdles that come into it. Let's be honest, like working for 30, 40 years and then going into a hard stop can be really scary for multiple reasons. There's the loss of the paycheck, which is a big one. And I know JJ is going to touch on it. But even more than that, there are emotional items and transitional elements that can be a little bit overwhelming. There's the loss of professional identity, who you feel like you are as a person. And, as a retiree or someone who gets to go into this next chapter, you get to choose the parts of that identity that you carry forward into retirement and the parts that you leave behind. To me, it's so much fun and it's so fulfilling to have those conversations with people and to find exactly what that looks like in the next chapter.
Love that, Brennan. Love that. I'm going to leave this up on the screen. What questions do you guys have for Brennan, who specializes in working with early retirees, where there is that sense of identity and purpose and financially, can I actually do it? So, Kapil, I see your question here. Beyond what withdrawal rate will you say no, assuming 25 years? We're going to answer some of these questions, so I like them. Keep them coming. I'm saving the best ones. And we have a really good comment here from Harry. Harry's a financial advisor at Root. He says, I thought there were only 2 hobbies, soccer and smoothies, which, Harry, you know me well. So excited to see they brought out the big guns with Brennan today. So, Brennan, do you mind walking us through, if you have a framework in your mind of generally what those first 1,000 days even look like, if you can take anecdotes from working with clients? Mm-hmm. If I'm someone who's like, Brennan, I'm going to be a potential client of Root. I'm excited. I see you do the tax and healthcare and all that good stuff. But I'm just nervous. I know financially, say I'm in a good spot, but the first 1,000 days, I don't even know what to expect. What would you be sharing with me?
Yeah. And I think before, thinking about the framework, it's important to recognize, like, why are we talking about this? Why is it important? Why is it 1,000 days, which effectively represents almost the first 3 years of your retirement? And it's kind of like, and I'm no rocket scientist. I think, Ari, you're more of a rocket scientist than I am, but it's kind of like launching a rocket, right? If your launch angle is a little bit off course, then it can potentially set you off hundreds of miles away from where you want to go. Of course, we can always course correct, which is something that we do commonly for clients. But the closer you are and the more accurate you are in your initial path, the better chance you have in having a smooth ride and getting to the destination that you want to. So we really put a lot of emphasis on developing good habits and a good mindset for those first 3 or so years. Specifically, the first phase of it, like the first 1 to 3 months, and Tim, you're in month 7 going to Jamaica, you're starting to feel this. It's like it's vacation, right? There's no alarm clock, there's no commute, there's no Monday morning meeting. All of that gets left behind, and you get to fill out your routine and your schedule. What I like to kind of dive into further is what happens after that so on called honeymoon phase, after those first 3 months. And as an advisor, that's sometimes when we start to see challenges arise with recent retirees. Like in months 4 to 12, you start to pick up, reality setting in, your routine starts to fade a little bit, your sense of purpose can sometimes feel a little bit wobbly, which is why before you stop working, we have conversations like that around identity and around purpose. Because if you go further out into that process, after a year, after 2 years, and you'll start asking bigger questions like, where am I spending my time? What gives me fulfillment? What gives me purpose? And at that point, ideally, you'll have done the work and answer those questions years in advance, which is why, as advisors, and at Root in particular, we have those types of conversations a year or 2 year ahead of the actual retirement date.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Sometimes on the show, I like to do some role playing. It's just fun. I like we've done it. We sometimes will call it root acting, whatever you want to call it. But I think it'd be cool to do a little segment here with you live, Brennan, where I almost pretend to be your client, and I'm gonna kind of get to show you how I'm thinking, so people can see how you would actually respond. So you can see there's questions coming in. We're gonna get to these, Dr. H. He's talking about, hey, my fear is sticking to a monthly budget once I get more freedom. Do you recommend doing things like depositing into one account or only using a debit card? So Dr. H, we're going to get to these. Other people, I want to retire early, but healthcare, no pension makes it difficult. I stay on the 1 more year treadmill. Lone Star Tiger, you are not alone. I hear that all the time. Anyone else resonate with Lone Star Tiger? My main question, before we get to the role playing, which will be tons of fun, is what do you see people do well? But more importantly, so like, let's pretend I do really well. I've thought about my purpose. I know what I want to do. I'm just going to have a butler. I'm going to go to a new place every single month, and it's just butler. That's what I want. And what we want to hear about is, what do people mess up? In the first 1,000 days, do people actually say, I thought about purpose, but it changed? Like, what are you actually seeing people mess up where they look back and go, why didn't I do X?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great thought and a great question, because we have these high hopes for what those first 6 months look like, and it's really fun to think about. And then you retire, 6 months goes by, and it's like, wait a minute, like this isn't all that I thought it was going to be cracked up to be. What I see people mess up probably early on is not necessarily taking the lifestyle risks, if you will, that they committed to early on, right? Like clients who say, all right, we're going to take that big trip. We're going to buy the lake house. We're going to do this and that. And then time goes by and none of those boxes are checked. And it's easy to procrastinate. It's easy to just let that all go by the wayside. And then what we see is that in years 2, 3, 4, and 5, all of that still hasn't come to fruition. There's this time element to retirement. We talk about it all the time. Ari talks about it all the time at Root. Time is a resource, and not maximizing the time in that first few months or those first few years where you do have that energy and that excitement, that's something that you might regret in years later down the road in your retirement.
Love that. Okay, really insightful there. So, Brennan, appreciate that. We've got some people in here, Lisa, for example, saying, look, working part-time or flex work is way better than one more year syndrome. It's sort of the best compromise and a great way to start out and test the waters. Lisa, yes, but there's some people that are like, my job doesn't even have that option. It's either I'm working or I'm not. And there's other people that are like, Lisa, I'm with you. I wouldn't ever undo this. So great comments. You can see there's people who are sharing really valid concerns about, yeah, I'm concerned about health insurance or rules with legislation. Now, the last time Harry remembers, we did a little bit of root theater. That's what we called it, root theater. So guys, before we begin, I am going to New York in, I think, 3 weeks. Brennan, I know you are located in New York. Is there a Broadway show I must see? So Brennan, question for you, but also question for everyone in the chat. Is there a show that I absolutely must see?
My answer would be the one Broadway show I've seen in the last 5 years, which is Wicked. It's a blockbuster for a reason. It is an incredible show. The singing and the dancing is just mesmerizing, and the production is just incredible. How they get those stage, I don't know what they're called, mascots or whatever it might be. How they put that together is incredible. But if you're seeing one show, that would be my recommendation.
Okay, guys, Wicked, top of the list. Let us know in the comments. And I like the level of detail we're starting to get into. So how wise is it to partially retire when you're not financially able to retire fully? Well, Virginia, it depends. Did you invest in the fire bucket? Because that changes the plan. If guys, how confused do you think Virginia must be if she's late and just heard that comment? Okay. My main fear is, what if I have to go back to work? Job searches in my industry take a minimum of a year, and AI is making it worse. I'd be a dead duck if I needed a W-2 again. Yep, hear that all the time. You do not want to retire twice. Now, Andrew, I must address your question. In fact, Brennan and I will both address it because it's a big comment, big fear. And there's really two fears that you have to juggle. You have to juggle, I don't want to retire too soon and run out of money if I don't plan well. And you don't want to be 90 with 10 million bucks going, why didn't I retire earlier when I wanted to do things? So there's a balance. So Brennan, how would you address Andrew's question here?
I would address it by also tying it into an earlier question, which is, does retirement have to be a hard stop? And in many cases, it doesn't have to be, right? If your career or your job allows for it, taking what you could refer to as like a retirement dress rehearsal, that's really doable in some cases. And that gives you a sense of what life could look like when you free up the time, what life could look like when you're not earning as big of a paycheck, when you're supplementing your income from your portfolio or from other fixed accounts that you might have, and give yourself a little bit of a teaser to what life could be like when you do decide to do a full stop.
Love it. Okay, Andrew, I'll come in and help as well. I'm going to piggyback off of that. It's always funny, by the way. Do you guys remember when you're in school and they're like, okay, what's the answer? And you're like, well, I think it's 4, but it depends. And someone else is like, I'd like to piggyback off that answer. 4. You're like, well, you just said what they just said. So by no means am I doing that. But Andrew, to your point here, I would bulletproof your plan. It is clear you do not want to have to get another job, and that will suck. So what I would recommend is not have the traditional, I'm going to retire and hope it works out. Some people do that and they go, if I have to find another job, I'll find another job. That is not you. It sounds like you're going to want to make sure, if you're unlucky and returns don't go your way and inflation happens to grow more, healthcare costs rise, turns out you want to travel more, do a home remodel, buy new cars, you are planning for that. So if you're unlucky, you still will not have to go back and be a dead duck. So good thoughts there. We're going to get into some root theater. But guys, I mean, this is, how great is this? Maybe one of my favorite comments of the day. Confused by the fire bucket. Virginia, I'm going to have to skip over this only because I addressed it earlier in the show and it's a whole story. But if someone wants to summarize it for you in the chat, if we've got any very nice people, it'll be long explanation. If not, Virginia, I will address it for you if you stay to the end of today's show, which is going to end in about 7.5 hours. So not bad, and no bathroom breaks. No, it's going to be like another 30, 40 minutes, unless we just have a blast. I don't like have agendas. I just want to have fun and help you guys. So let's do a little bit of root theater. Are you up for it, Brennan?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to pretend it's going to be silly. Okay, this is how I like to get into my character. But I'm going to come to you. I'm going to go, Brennan. So I saw you on your little bio here. Okay, so I was on the Root website. I really liked your style here. I heard your intro video. I feel like I got to know you. People from New York are just better than other people. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but it's just kind of facts here. And you're always talking about the human side of money. And my old advisor, he would always just come in and show me a spreadsheet and ask, why aren't I equally excited? And I'd be like, look, I'm just not, I don't know. I get you like this stuff, but you got to make sure it makes sense. And, if we really do need to go camping, it sounds like that's something you could do. And I don't even know how to build a tent. And I know you don't even say build, you set it up. You can see how incompetent I am. Okay. But I scheduled a call with you. I'm really excited. I want to work with Root. I'm planning on retiring in about 6 months. Okay, so that's my time frame. That's what I think. I haven't run enough projections, but I've used the software. It says I have a 99% chance of success. That sounds good, but maybe is that like a 1% chance that like I'm not going to be okay and like I'll never eat again? That kind of scares me. I was supposed to have $10 million from this fire bucket thing I made up, but it turns out no one just saw the vision. So maybe I'll go back to the fire bucket, but for now we're putting that on the side. So people tell me I should practice retirement. Brennan, I don't got time for that. I'm busy working. I've got a family. I've got to start the fire bucket again because my trademark expired. So it's a whole thing. So by the way, do you want to invest? And we'll get to that later. Okay. So just specifically for my retirement, 6 months is my timeline. That's what I'm thinking here. I just want to know, where do I even start?
Yeah. It's a good thought. I'll be honest, Ari, we could talk about the numbers, we can talk about the percentages, and good advisors like the ones we have at Root, we're going to take care of the numbers. We're going to tell you, can you retire, when you can retire, where your income's going to come from, how much you can spend, are you on track, are you not on track, all of that. We're going to have that down pat. What's most important and where we really start all of our conversations and the start of our process is with purpose, right? And we talk about it all the time. What are you retiring to? What are you retiring from? There are a lot of questions that we like to ask that we go deep into to define those elements of the next season of your life, right? I like to take clients through an exercise who kind of struggle with, am I ready for this? Am I not ready for this? And defining what are called purpose pillars. Right. So this can be mentorship. It can be volunteering. It could be hobbies, whatever it might be, something that keeps you grounded. I actually once had a client, Ari, who worked at the same company for 40 years. And I helped her retire. She was about a year out and I took her through it. And she was struggling to define what life is going to look like. This idea of identity and leaving behind her personal brand and being at a company for 40 years, her legacy. And I asked her, what are the parts that she wants to carry into her next chapter? She had a hard time defining it because she was a super modest person. Thankfully, I was in her small circle of colleagues and friends who said nothing but good things about her. She was someone who was a natural leader. She was a mentor. It didn't matter if you were in the C-suite or an intern. She had an open door policy. You could always come in and tap her for advice. So we brainstormed what are the exercises and activities that you can do in retirement to replace that sense of purpose and identity. And for her, as a leader, as a mentor, as somebody who is a facilitator of connections and relationships inside and outside of work, we came up with a list of things that checked all those boxes for her. It happened to be volunteering at a nonprofit, taking a leadership position. So that was for one client specifically. What I would say, Ari, is let's not start with the numbers, which is crazy to think about. but starting with purpose, starting with your identity, what you want life to look like.
Okay, I'm gonna be my character for one more time, and then we're gonna round out because there's amazing stuff in the comments. Okay, so Brennan, just can I ask you a personal question? You might be my advisor. I feel like we should get to know each other. Do you love your wife?
I love my wife.
You love your wife. Okay. Look, I love my wife too, but I just worked for like 35 years. I haven't spent this much time with her. So just between us, you'll keep it between us. I might push back my retirement a little bit because I don't know. I haven't seen her this long. I've never been at home. It's only going to be us. I mean, I love her. If she asks you, I love her. But the fact that we're going to spend this amount of time, like all day, every day, my coworkers, they're my best friends. Now, they stopped responding my texts a few months ago, even though I'm still at the company, but they're best friends. They just don't know it. And we really are going to hang out a ton in retirement. So do you ever find two spouses disagree in what they want to do in retirement? Or should my wife just do what I want to do? I'm a little confused. I was the breadwinner, for most of the year. So I feel like I should be picking what happens in retirement. But you seem like you care more than just the numbers, which I've never had that. Normally I go to an advisor and they just start telling me about Monte Carlo. And, I pretend to be listening, but, he gets so excited. I don't even know what he's saying at some point.
Yeah. Well, if you want, Ari, your 35-year marriage to continue lasting, your wife makes a lot of sense. Look, it's completely normal for one spouse to be emotionally ready and the other not to be. As a matter of fact, it probably comes up in more cases than not. So one of the keys to that, of course, number one is communication and sharing how you feel with the other party. Communication is key to any relationship. It's really key when making retirement decisions. So keeping an open lane of communication is absolutely critical. And it's okay to disagree on your timelines. It's not going to be perfect. I think if there's a hang up from one side, I commonly see clients whose spouses say, my wife thinks we're ready, but I'm not ready, or vice versa. Of course, showing them the numbers, giving them some positive reinforcement might give them an extra layer of peace of mind or a sense of security. But it really has to be a dialogue and dissecting exactly what that person is concerned about, making them feel heard. That's as equally as important as the numbers. Addressing the emotional side, of course, but, honestly, you have to be open to different paths. Like we talked about earlier, this idea of a retirement rehearsal. If it's really a point of contention to say, I'm not ready, maybe let's just try this thing out for 6 months or for 9 months. We can meet Tim down in Jamaica and see how he's playing golf, and meet Ari in Maui and just see how we like it for 6 months. And if it really doesn't work, then you can go back to how things were. And if you're really energized by this new transition period, then you go all the way to the finish line.
I love it.
Today, it's about being open.
Brennan, you are awesome. You're such a legend for being willing to come on. And guys, obviously I do that for silly purposes, but you can really see it. Look, a lot of you are wondering, you're in the chat right now and you're talking about retirement planning, which is great. And we're going to be highlighting some of the things you're saying, but there's a lot of you who are wondering, yep, I've run the numbers 2,000 times now. Why do I still not feel there's something telling me I can make it happen? Brennan specializes in working with people who want to retire, who are in that position of, yes, I do want to figure out my purpose. Maybe I have a sense already. Maybe I don't have a clue, but I know I want to make sure the math works first. So yes, we go over the numbers, but we don't start there. We start with, okay, what's most important to you? Because we might find when going through that, what's most important to you is connection with coworkers, and that you should work a little bit longer, but maybe not at your current role. Maybe it's somewhere else. Who knows? Tons of good stuff, guys. So thank you, Brennan. It is so fun to be able to do this with you live. Amazing comments here. You can see we've got some fun comments coming from our advisors at Root. Wow, I want Brennan to be my advisor. Let me know if you're taking clients 30 years from now. Rich is retired. Rich is going, I'm not busy all the time either. I have time to watch Ari's show here. Tim is retired. So Tim is saying, I'm not busy 100% of the time, but I'm available most. Something comes up that I want to do. You guys are in here talking to each other, which, how cool is this? Guys, you know where else you can do this if you want? The Root Collective, our free community. If you want to continue your discussion here, I'm putting this in the chat. If you want to join, this is our free community. It's one thing to hear from me or Brennan. It's another thing to be able to chat with each other. Doc here, literally the name is Doc. You guys have to be psychologists also. Yeah, we honestly do. And if we're just great at numbers, that does not create a real financial plan. So I'm glad that you highlighted that. Tim goes, this Brennan guy seems pretty cool. He is cool, Tim. So if you guys resonated with this and go, wow, I want to work with Brennan, you can go to his profile page on the website here. You can go ahead and request to work directly with him. So whether you're watching this live or a recording, just so grateful you took the time. Brennan, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Ari. Had a blast. Thank you.
See ya. So guys, I'm about to bring on another advisor in just a moment, but did you resonate with Brennan and his style? He's so warm and inviting. I remember when I met Brennan the first time, I went, because right now I manage my mom's money and I help out. I'm like, I think I want my mom to be with you. Like, he has a way of making you open up that you guys could feel there. I'm not saying he's ready to invest in Fire Bucket, but Brennan, guys, he's awesome. Honestly, an amazing advisor. So you can see Lyle here is saying, Brennan works with new retirees. You have someone specialized in healthcare. Are these folks available if we're not? Are these folks available if we're not? Sorry, I don't understand that question. But all of our advisors, if they're focusing on an early retirement, yes, it's healthcare, it's tax planning, it's estate planning. Now we have certain advisors that, I'll just go through here. Let's pick on Chelsea for a moment. So Chelsea is in the chat as well. If you go to Chelsea's profile, she works with people retiring early. She works with people who have questions on healthcare or estate planning, because she also has a designation here. And so she has more competency in federal employees. So if you're like, wow, I'm a federal employee, or I know someone who's a federal employee, Chelsea might be the best fit. It's all about making sure we find the right fit. And that's why we have different advisors. Different advisors, they like working with different people. There's different preferences. We have one advisor, Caleb. Caleb is awesome and now working with a lot of our clients who have a desire to move out of the country. Caleb also works with clients who are living in the United States, he does great work for them as well. So we want to make sure we're pairing you with the right advisor, and really you get to choose, which is cool here at Root. So with that being said, guys, you resonate. Rich goes, yep, thanks, Brennan. Yes, Brennan is great. Love that. So Brennan, I know you are offline at this point. You're more than welcome to stay on or leave. You will not end the live chat if you do leave. So whatever you want to do. But guys, thank you for joining. Lila is saying Root clients. Are these folks available if we're not? Sorry, Lyle, I'm still confused. But Brennan does work with new clients. So with that being said, we see more. I've saved your comments because sometimes you guys will get mad and go, Ari, I responded to the chat. I was like one of your first responders. And then I got lost because at the end, it looks like you're only picking like the latest comment. So like, why should I even chat anymore? Guys, not a problem. I've got them saved. They're on my other screen right here. So if you're wondering if I'm just looking at different variations of how cauliflower can be cooked, that's also there. But that's it's a split screen, okay? We've got the roast and the boiled. I don't think anyone's boiled cauliflower, but we've got the roasted with the paprika. That's there. Okay, that's my screensaver. And then we've got other great questions here, like from Kapil. Beyond what withdrawal rate will you say no? Assume 25 years of retirement. Guys, great questions. Oh, Lyle's saying if we're not Root clients, if you're not Root clients, we cannot give you Root financial advice. So Lyle, I apologize if I'm misunderstanding, but we put out tons of videos on healthcare, on tax planning, on estate planning. And so hopefully that helps. So with that being said, I'm going to bring on one of my advisors here. The advisor I'm going to bring on is JJ. Many of you actually were clicking on his profile ahead of the call from an email I sent out yesterday. And you can see JJ here, his profile. You can see he's in Denver and learn all about him. So I'm going to go ahead and put this here because last live show, you guys were like, I couldn't find the profile and I want to go watch the videos after. So I just put it in. If you guys want to learn about JJ, I'm going to bring you on now. So you're here with me. Thank you for joining, first of all, because everyone here at JJ doesn't know you did a full day of work and you're staying late. So thank you for being willing to do this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So Brendan was going over the first 1,000 days of retirement and what that looks like. I had asked you, hey, what do you want to talk about on the show? And what makes this so fun is we'll see comments come in and we'll address them live. And so one thing that you had mentioned was, hey, I think it could be cool tell me if I'm wrong, but to talk about like how to actually create income in retirement. Like, how do you actually do that? So I would love if you're open to sharing your thoughts on that, and then we can go off the chat and have some fun.
Yeah, thanks. Right now I'm just thinking about, do you want to open a restaurant? Do you want to open a root restaurant? And we can call it Fire Bucket,
Oh,
and we can like have buffalo cauliflower, or we can workshop this. Or the signature dish is the Fire Bucket, and it's, I don't know, it sounds like Nashville chicken. I don't know. We can work on this, but that's what I'm thinking about.
Oh, these are good thoughts, JJ. Not only good. Now, we cannot forget, I've got the Jewish digestive system. Okay, so Fire Bucket already, I'm anticipating a potential issue. But if the buffalo is like a 2 out of 10 in terms of mild, we might be able to work with that.
Mm-hmm. Lots of Israeli hot sauces are pretty nice. You could get a pretty
Yes.
mild harissa that would work. Some skoog.
Yeah. Are you a spicy lover?
Yeah. As long as I can taste it still, and it's not just razor blades. That's not fun.
We might need
anymore.
the Fire Bucket restaurant, which I love. And it looks like some people are retired in the chat who might be willing to come on here. And instead of paying them, we could just ask them to invest in the potential Fire Bucket franchise. So guys, it's an opportunity if you really think about it. Now, we might need the JJ menu and the Ari menu for spice level so that I'm not in the restroom while I need to be working. But we've got potential here, guys.
Yeah, there is potential. We would have to run that one by compliance.
I think so. I think a few times. So
yeah,
with that being said, yes, creating income.
For that. Yeah, creating income. This is really cool. And Brennan touched on a lot of these points too. This is very behavioral, what we do. And we can do the dollars and cents and the math for folks. That part's actually pretty straightforward. A lot of the time, the behavioral stuff is not so easy to change. Like Brennan was talking about earlier, you've got, just all of a sudden you have to do the opposite of what you've done for many decades. And that's really difficult for people. So, I like to think about, as retirement is starting off, you can buy stuff now, but you can also buy things that are intangible. You can buy flexibility. And that's really valuable, and that really feels good. So your portfolio is going down, but the way I look at it is you saved it, and now it's not your employer paying you, it's you paying you. And you can do that as long as it makes sense. And as long as the plan shows it's going to serve your needs in good times and bad forever. So yeah, I like to not so much think about, oh, if I buy this, it's negative $10,000 for those first class tickets. It's really about, what are you getting for that? And kind of fantasizing and dreaming about what is that getting you? It's getting you some comfort on a 15-hour flight. Really valuable. That's really valuable. Sometimes even longer than 15 hours. But yeah, that's just something you have to start to get used to. And I like the idea of buying flexibility to start out with. You don't necessarily have to retire and, okay, it's the next day and I'm going to go buy a house in a new city. And I've always wanted that. Maybe you do that eventually, but hey, isn't it nice to be able to be flexible? I like to go shopping with clients on Vrbo or Airbnb. It's like, well, instead of buying that house right away, that's a big cash outflow and that's a risk. What if you hate it there? What if you hate the neighborhood? So let's go shopping around for, okay, in the middle of Manhattan, $15,000 a month will get you a pretty good spot. Stay there for a month. Check out the neighborhood. You can be flexible. Get it for another month if you want to stay. If you don't want to stay, try somewhere else. And you can kind of keep doing that as long as it's within reason and it's affordable. And you just take that money from your portfolio and you deserve it. You can afford to pay yourself going forward.
Yeah. I want to dive into some of these awesome questions coming in, Lisa. So we're going to hop in. But before we do, I want to talk about your background, JJ, because it's interesting. And sometimes, I mean, a lot of you guys know this by now. You guys will hear me say, it's very unique. And I've been corrected. Nothing can be very unique. It is unique or not unique. It's like when you get on a flight and they go, we have a very full flight today, everyone. Very full, please. Overhead baggage that needs my dad stopped me once. He goes, Ari, it can't be very full. It's either full or it's not full. And he would be correct. So JJ, I'm going to say your background is unique, not very unique, since that's impossible. But you can see here, guys, if you read his bio, JJ was raised by a financial advisor. And my dad is the exact opposite of a financial advisor. So JJ goes, look, I learned from the 2008 crash. I went through it. I actually was there. So JJ, do you mind talking just high level before we get into some great questions coming in, just about your background, how you got into the industry, considering that you were raised by an advisor?
Yeah, it seemed like the right thing to do with an undergrad in psychology. My timing could have been maybe better from a career standpoint. I used to say that, but actually, I think it was perfect from a career standpoint because I got to see that devastation and that just sadness and depression that affected so many people as their accounts were cut in half or way worse. If they didn't have a solid plan in place ahead of time, they were really worried. And if they did have a solid plan in place, then they were much less worried, or they were just not really paying attention. They were just out on the French Riviera or something. So, that's what I always want to get. That's a place I want to get people to, is just having confidence in the plan, because it was designed to pay for what you want it to pay for forever. And anything I can do to help people bypass or set aside anxiety or sadness or depression or just fear in retirement makes it all worth it to me.
Did you always want to be an advisor, considering you were raised by one, or how did you decide to do this?
I always wanted to help people. I worked in restaurants for a decade and in a former life, and that was helping people. I actually don't view being a financial advisor as very different from waiting tables. Just a lot more taxes involved and tax planning. But yeah, it's helping people. People come with problems instead of hunger or just complexities that need untangling, and I help untangle them. And that feels really good when I can alleviate anxiety. One thing I love to hear is, JJ, I used to think about this stuff all the time, and now that we have a plan, I don't really think about it that much. I don't check my phone first thing in the morning. I'm just enjoying life.
That's awesome. Honestly, that's why we do what we do. So, JJ, you are one of the most experienced advisors at Root. You can see, guys, here, 16 years doing this, tons of experience. We would love to get your insight, if you're willing, from some of the comments coming in. So we're going to highlight yours, Lisa, because I promised I'd get to it. Lisa here says, I think the worst part about the beginning of retirement is you really just have to wait and see how the first couple of years go. Once I pass sequence of return risk years, if I do well, I upgrade. So first, JJ, do you mind explaining to everyone what is sequence of return risk? And then feel free to address her comment how you see fit.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lisa. Sequence of return risk is the risk that your portfolio goes way down, the market goes way down right before or right after you retire. You might have all these big plans and they're going to cost X number of dollars over the next couple of years, but then you retire, you don't have that paycheck anymore, and the market goes way down. And now you can't do what you were planning anymore. There's nothing worse than that in the eyes of a financial planner. So how do you avoid that? My answer to everything is just by default, it depends. It's always depends. And in the case of sequence risk, it can be scary these first couple of years, but you can also manage sequence risk well in advance of retirement. If you have a solid portfolio management strategy and retirement income strategy to pull funds out of various account types over various years in a tax optimized way, then it doesn't matter if the stock market goes down before or after you retire. You'll still have enough to pull your income from other sources over time. So yeah, there are ways around that initial anxiety. I hear where you're coming from, Lisa. That's one way to do it too. Once you get past those couple years, you can upgrade.
Love it. Great answer there. Dr. H here, we'd love to hear this from you, JJ, because you've worked with so many different clients. I'm curious, and other advisors at Root are curious because we learned from you. He said, hey, my fear is sticking to a monthly budget once I get more freedom. Do you recommend doing things like depositing the money into one account and only using a debit card to restrict overspending? Or what do you see clients do successfully?
Yeah, one thing that really helps is just being aware of how much is being spent on what and when. And there are a lot of really neat apps these days that you can just link your bank account to, and it'll track all your spending and categorize it in real time. And so you're never surprised by how much you're spending. Debit cards don't have the same kind of protections against fraud and security measures that a lot of credit cards do. So in general, I'd say you want to have that credit card and have those extra protections versus using a debit card. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have a monthly budget when you're saving up and earning income, that's fine, because you just automate your savings. Usually it goes in your employer plan and it's just automatic. You do have to pay attention to it once there's no income anymore. But also, if you're working with a financial planner that sets up your retirement income strategy, then that can be automated too as the dollars come to you.
Great response. I'm even learning that, guys. I was not aware of that level of fraud that did come with debit cards. So thank you for that. A great question that came earlier that I promised we would address that we did not with Brennan is, beyond what withdrawal rate will you say no? And instead of assuming a 25 years of retirement, the majority of you who are on the line, you're retiring early in your 50s or 60s. We don't know how long you're going to live, but it could be 30 or 40 years. Withdrawal rates come up a lot. How do you like to navigate those conversations?
Yeah, it depends. The answer is depends still. The withdrawal rate, everyone seems like has heard about the 4% rule. If you don't take out more than 4% a year, then you'll be fine long term. That was a study done over a specific period of time, and it may not apply to everyone's situation equally. 4% might be too much of a withdrawal rate if you're retiring very early, or if you're retiring a little bit later, 4% might not be nearly enough, and you're not going to get the most life out of your money, and then you leave way too much to heirs. So it depends on how much you have, how much you spend. It depends what kind of income sources you're going to have. Social Security is a pension of a kind, and most people are probably getting that. It can be okay to spend 10% a year in retirement if it's not for many years. And then Social Security kicks in, and some other stuff can happen, and you're okay. So it's always depends.
JJ, what you just said there, so often overlooked, because people will hear something like 4% rule or guardrails approach or whatever and go 5.2, 5.6, 4, and they'll marry that number. And they will go, well, I mean, that says 6. I mean, I know for the rest of my retirement, it says 1.2, but that says 6. So there's no way I can retire. Do you mind elaborating on that and why people just have issues with that? Is it a lack of understanding? Is it emotional? What is it about withdrawal rates that confuse people?
I think it's just the human capacity to not, we're not calculators. We can't do all these calculations. It's very easy to rely on a rule of thumb because it saves time and mental energy. A lot of the time, a 4% rule is going to work for a lot of people, but in many cases it doesn't, and in many cases it's not going to optimize for the type of life that people want to live, and that's why they're talking to us in the first place. So I view the 4% rule as very helpful to start the conversation. And then we look at and we build a plan and we optimize from there. Sometimes 10% withdrawal rate is totally fine for a number of years if it's going to go way down after for whatever reason.
Love that. And JJ, the way you say it is so composed because you've done it a gazillion times. But guys, what JJ's really saying is he may have just bought you 3 more years where you can prioritize your health, which you can't exactly quantify on a spreadsheet, no matter how hard we want to try. And maybe you're able to take 2 more trips with your mom or dad who might not feel well. Good luck quantifying that later in life. And so why does this stuff matter? Yes, I make lots of jokes. Yes, we try to do this in an entertaining way. But it's so you actually recognize the value of what we're doing, which is not light work. This is us trying to make sure everything you just worked so hard for is actually being provided for you in the way you want. Just like JJ said at the beginning here, you work for this. You're now creating your own income. It's coming from you, which will feel weird because when's the last time, James says this all the time, when's the last time you've done something for the first time? I mean, I just got married. That's the first time, hopefully last time. And there's a lot that comes with that. James asked me that. I go, before that, when's the last time I did something for the first time? I mean, I guess I graduated college or those were the thoughts. Like, guys, many of you have been working for 30, 40 years, and now you're supposed to just turn off and it's supposed to be normal. Like, that is not how this works. And to prove JJ's wisdom here, PETA put a great comment to say, I had that same anxiety regarding sequence of return risk. And when I retired in 2020, the market crashed the following week with COVID lockdowns, but I knew I had a good plan. And so that got me through without a lot of worry. JJ's given that. PETA gets a discount to the restaurant with that comment. Okay. So guys, thank you so much. The comments here are so fun. I love getting to do this with you, JJ. JJ, my last question, because I know you work with a lot of different people, and I tell everyone, please go watch JJ's episodes. If you're on his profile under related content, you can get to know JJ, his love of music and money and making sense of the world. It's so cool. JJ works with a lot of our clients who have big wins, meaning high gains, but they're wondering, what about the tax impact? How do I diversify? So you can learn a whole lot more about JJ and who he enjoys working with. But as a whole, if I were to ask you, JJ, you almost have your perfect client. What are the traits of that client? If you could almost talk directly to them, if someone goes, I want to work with you, JJ, what do I need to be so that you find that I'm a client that you would want to work with? What would you say to that?
I don't know that I'm going to accept that question. I'm not going to answer it in that way. I like working with everyone. I like building bridges. I love communicating, and I learned a whole lot about people when I was waiting tables for a decade and bartending, and you meet a million different kinds of people every day. And I like building bridges and getting to know people and understanding what it is they want. A lot of times people want what they say they want. Sometimes people want something they're not saying. And so, the more we get to know each other, the better idea I'll have about what it is you're really after. And I help people zero in on it. I'll dig into the details forever, but at the end of the day, I'll tell you to do what you want to do, even if it's less optimal from a tax standpoint or something. I did that earlier today. So well, this big change is going to be pretty suboptimal from a tax standpoint. I think you should do it anyway because you really want to do it. Wouldn't that be awesome? You just retired. High five.
That's awesome. I love that level of transparency is what we preach. And you guys just saw it. I have a question. JJ goes, well, let me actually answer it. And that's what we love. We want, guys, imagine we were to just say, yeah, whatever you want to retire, go for it. Like there's times where JJ will have to say, sorry, like I know you want to retire, but you also told me you want to spend $20,000 a month. So I don't want you mad at me if you run out of money, but we also recognize you really do want to retire. So let's dive into that. So we're not just, I joke that I'm the meanest advisor on YouTube. I promise I'm not mean. Just very transparent. We want to make sure that you guys are getting the life that you work so hard for. So JJ, you can see PETA here saying, thank you for that helpful perspective. Appreciate you, JJ, being willing to come on after a full workday and spend the time with the 100 of us here. That's all I got for you today, JJ.
I love it. This has been a blast. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya. Guys, how cool is that? You just saw two different perspectives. So you saw JJ, you saw Brennan. You can feel JJ's wisdom oozing off of him. Okay. Some people, you go to the restaurant and you'll get ketchup or mustard as a side. JJ is going to be a separate side. That's a separate sauce because it just oozes out of him. Okay. Now that can feel weird in the way I said it there, which I get. Okay. Me saying it out loud there. It's a little weirder than I thought, but JJ's wisdom, maybe we'll put a little asterisk there. Wisdom is a side there for the future Fire Bucket restaurant. So guys, hopefully you resonated with today's show. It's been over an hour. I promised I would address the Fire Bucket again for Virginia, who is late. Guys, do you think Virginia has stayed on this whole time? She's gotten a little quiet in the chat, but I remember the names, guys. So a lot of you will send me notes. Hey, Ari, I don't want to contribute in the chat because my name and public, what if an employer sees it or I'm driving? Don't worry. I don't actually need you to go in, but it's more fun because, guys, look how great the questions are. You can see someone here goes on to saying, I love accumulating wealth and the idea of leaving a legacy. That's the hardest part of retiring. Not there yet. Lone Star Tiger, Social Security may also be reduced in 10 years. Nobody knows. People have been saying this for a long time. Guys, you guys will send me notes going, wow, Ari, your suit, it was close to Dumb and Dumber. Oh my gosh, that blue right there. Yep, I'm starting to see the connection. Guys, Virginia stayed the whole time. Virginia's here with us. So Virginia, you get to hear. So I was in college and I was like, I'm not going to need to make YouTube videos. I don't know my future purpose because I have a genius idea. Now, it's one of the worst ideas you've ever heard, okay? But I'm going to tell it to you because it's funny. So I forget what I called it until I was explaining the story again. I remember it was the Fire Bucket. So here's how the idea came about. When you go to a movie theater, it's generally cold, even if it's hot outside. So you're going to bring a hoodie to the movie theater. I know some people sneak snacks in, but not you, Virginia. You never would. I could tell. I can just tell. Okay. So not you, Virginia, but some people would bring a hoodie. That way, when they're in the movie theater, they don't get too cold. They're a little more cozy. Now, there's also an issue with the movie theater. What's the other issue? Well, when you have popcorn and it's not hot, it's not as good. So I know a lot of people, including myself, will finish the popcorn before the movie starts. Okay, raise your hand if you're like me in there. Now, imagine if you could be in your movie theater, super cozy, and you've got your hoodie, but you don't want to wear a hoodie because it's just, I don't know, you want to be more comfortable. So you're not in your hoodie, but you're like, wow, what if I could have warm popcorn? Well, Virginia, worry no more, my friend, because with the fire bucket, for an extra $3 when you're checking out at the AMC little, kiosk or whatever it's called, the front desk area. It's definitely not called front desk area. The checkout center is what we'll call it. You could upgrade. This was my idea. You could upgrade, okay, for $3 extra to get a warm bucket. So your hands are warm while you're in the movie and the bottom of your popcorn stays warm. So if you do eat your popcorn slow, by the time you're middle of your movie, you still got warm popcorn. And I know what you're thinking, Virginia. Can I still invest? And the answer is no, because the business never actually took off and it will not be ever taking off. And someone said here once, Lisa here is saying, I explained the fire bucket to Virginia and she's in. Guys, we're not bringing back the fire bucket. We cannot. This would be a big issue. I'm going to get in trouble for compliance for even bringing up the fire bucket, I feel like, at this point. So Root has no association with fire bucket. Fire bucket does not exist. Alex is our compliance officer. If you're watching this, Alex, right now, we do not have investors. This is not happening, okay? Harry's saying investors could be you. I'm a little worried these fire bucket returns are going to go up in smoke. I see what you did there, Harry. So safe to say, the fire bucket did not take off. The fire hazard has, I cannot even tell you how many issues, but that was my thought. My thought was I was going to go to AMC and I was going to sell this fire bucket and I was going to make $10 trillion. Yeah, PETA, Shark Tank issue. Roman, what's the highest Roth IRA account value that you have seen? I've seen $7 million in Roth. And you're like, well, how the heck did you do that? I mean, that's outrageous. So Roman, you'd be correct because you can't really contribute your way. I mean, you could contribute and put all of it in one company and hope it does really well. But the highest Roth IRA account value I saw was because someone had such a big pre-tax account, they had converted assets and they had inherited a lot of Roth. So I don't really count that because it was inherited, meaning it was passed down. So the biggest Roth IRA account value I've seen where someone contributed to, I think I've seen like 3.2, 3.3, where someone contributed, invested well, but that was also including Roth 401k. So then they just put it onto the Roth IRA when they retired. So I only saw it when they were retired and I saw that final balance there. Okay, guys, always bring snacks. Heather, you're correct. Virginia is like, how did you know? Okay, the hardest part of looking at Right Capital is comparing it to my current advisor's plan and trying to figure out which is correct. More lost than I was. Greg. So what is Greg talking about? Greg is talking about this software that many of you are aware of. And if you're not, you can get access to it. The software is brought to you by Right Capital. So Right Capital, many of you guys are aware of this, but Right Capital is a software company. We at Root are not a software company. We do financial planning. So you can see here, this is if you want to get access to it, you can go enroll, run your own what if scenarios, and have fun with your own projections, Roth conversion, Social Security, estate planning, all this good stuff. And sometimes it can create analysis paralysis, which is exactly what it's done for Greg, because Greg is saying, I have an advisor. So Greg, I'm sure a part of you, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I'm sure a part of you is going, look, I feel like I'm watching my money more than my advisor. Why don't I go run my own plan and see what I'm actually on track for? And you might find that you have a better analysis. You put in the numbers, you ran it, you're the one that saw the data, and the data, but the software does not lie, okay? It's like when my dad says the Wi-Fi is broken. The Wi-Fi is not broken. My dad is the user error that is not allowing the Wi-Fi. Maybe the router got unplugged. Maybe something did occur and needs to restart it. But the software is the software, okay? Now, there are bugs that do exist, but for the most part, you put your inputs in correctly, the outputs come out a certain way. It's not taking into account how you're feeling that day, okay? So I say that because your advisor may have put something incorrectly. Maybe you put something incorrectly. But if you're educating yourself well and you feel like you have a good sense, you might have the right plan. So if you see a massive discrepancy, like mine shows 90% chance success and theirs shows 40%, it's probably something missing. So you definitely want to take a second look. And I always say, guys, the software is good for a gut check. It's good for, am I remotely on track? Is this edible? Like I'll use a thermometer example of like, okay, yes, this food I can now eat, but like, how do you like your steak cooked? Yeah, now I know it's safe to eat. I see I'm on track, but it doesn't mean it's going to be what you actually want. So something to think through there. Greg, I hit it on the nail. 100% correct. Greg, once again, you made me look so good right there. Thank you. Guys, I know I'm an hour 10 into this show. I just love this stuff, okay? So what are some different ways new retirees spend their time for fun, but also still feel useful or helpful to others? Oh, Doc, boom, I got you. Ready? If you are a doctor, you might even like this even more. So I have a new show. This is a semi-promotion, okay? But it's also something I'm inviting you all to. So let me pull this up on my screen. There's a new show. Greg, you're welcome. Definitely want to make sure that you feel good about your stuff. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me pull this up. There's a new show. It launches Saturday. Okay. Saturday, this new show launches. It is called Retirement Reality, Episode 1. These are where I bring guests on and they actually talk. It's me and them for about 45 minutes. And here's someone who retired early. And he says, hey, this was the moment I knew I needed to retire. Like that's when. And he talks about it into great detail. So we're not talking about Roth conversions or, Social Security. All my YouTube videos are deep on the financial side. This is the non-financial side. This is just purely emotional. What are you spending your time on? So I'm telling you this, Doc, because I just did one episode. I recorded 6 of them. They'll go out every Saturday. And the 6th one was someone who said, you've got to go to a senior care center and volunteer. If you find the right one, it is so fulfilling. They pass down pearls of wisdom that you just could not imagine. And that is how they are connecting with their granddaughter. So their granddaughter is like, yeah, I don't really want to hang out with you because like you're not that exciting. And they didn't say it like that, but they could kind of read between the lines. So now they go together and they have a blast. So other ways, I have some people that are going on Meetup. I think it's called Meetup. Yeah. And like pretend you want to go to the museum, but you're like, I don't want my perspective. I already know my perspective. You can go with other people on like a tour to a museum. So you're not going to work, but you're getting perspectives of other people. You get to meet. It's fun. So is the new show on your regular channel? Yes, Heather. It's not on there yet, but it will be on Saturday. So it'll be on my channel. I know we have a few different channels, so I do not blame you for the question. If you guys want to come on my new retirement reality show, I just put the link in the chat. So if you want to come on, that is where I'm asking you to only come on if you're retired, to share your experience, what you wish you did differently, what went really well, and then we'll be hosting more of those. So hopefully, guys, you enjoyed this show today. What did you think? Brennan, JJ, good, helpful? Did you fall asleep on me? I know there are hundreds of you, and now I see 74 of you, so I don't blame you because we went long today. But hopefully you guys like this. Next week, I have another advisor that I'm going to be highlighting. So very exciting to get to do this. And it's fun to be back. I love this stuff. So thank you guys for coming. I'm going to stay just a little bit in the chat in case there's any few last questions here. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get made fun of for this fire bucket forever. I can't believe I just remembered that. Superhero account. Thank you. Tim was explaining that. And root reserves can help you. Yeah. Superhero account is just total flexibility. Different than a Roth, different than a 401k. PETA, another great show. PETA, you're the man. PETA, we never forgot your what is it? Your trivia. Brilliant showing in trivia. Okay. So we might be bringing that back, by the way, but we'll see. Okay, what else? I'm looking at other comments, see if I missed anything here. Woods, yeah, you made me laugh earlier. You were saying, take my wife, please. That was hilarious. Retired from high stress, retired to freedom. Woods was asking Tim, how did you know you were mentally ready to retire? That's where I'm struggling. He says, after taking care of everyone else the last 35 years, I gave a lot of thought to what I wanted for the coming years. I found a lot of what I wanted to do. Yes, that's difficult. Tim goes on to say, I'm not busy 100% of the time, but I'm available most of the time something comes up. So love that. Thank you, advisors that chose to be here. Tim, enjoyed the show. Thanks to you, Brennan and JJ. No, Tim, thanks to you for always joining. Tim, have a blast in Jamaica. I want photos of you and the butler, if I may request. And if you want to email that to me, Tim, I believe you have my email. You guys can all email me as much as you want. This is my email, ari@rootfinancial.com. It can be any question. It can be, are JJ and Brennan taking new clients? It can be, hey, here's the actual cauliflower recipe you need, or a new show idea. I make all this for you. As I see it, I work for all of you so that you get confidence for your retirement planning, and I'm trying to make the best content possible for you. So